Todd, what do you call a quick fuel stop that lasts 45 minutes?
What?
Tradition.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Our goal at Best Motorcycle Roads is to make your next motorcycle trip the best it can be. The bottom line is when you plan a really great group ride, it's not really just about maps or the route. You know, you've got to manage people, expectations, and kind of the rhythm of the ride. I mean, when everything's right, you won't just have a smooth ride. You kind of end up with a story, right? And just wanting to do it again and again.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the mile marker here, and today's topic really, Todd, is planning group rides without getting people all mad at you.
Right.
So
Which we managed to do now and then.
I found a good quote. It says, "Everyone has a plan until the GPS sends you down a gravel road." Author is unknown, but probably a biker named Dave. Oh, you know, and if you hit the gravel road on the first day, then everyone's happy. If it's the fifth day,
Yeah.
who knows what's going to happen.
That's not good.
So, yeah, I mean, so like, how does everything start, Todd? I mean, like, if we're thinking group rides,
Well,
and when we say group rides, we're kind of talking about, you know, what this podcast is really about is like taking multi-day rides with friends, right? I mean, kind of thing.
yeah.
So,
And we have a standard group of about 5 of us, 6
Yeah.
of us sometimes that like to ride together. And we start really early, months ahead, and just nail down the
I think
dates.
the last one was about 6 days ahead. No, I'm just kidding.
No, dates.
I know,
Dates.
that's what I meant. No,
Oh, no, it was
I'm
more
kidding,
than
I'm
that.
kidding. No, yeah, we like almost in the spring, early spring, we try to just put some dates on the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way everyone's got them marked out on the calendar. They can take time off work. They
Right.
know they're not overlapping with vacations and things. So, and then we kind of decide at that point, you know, how many days do we want to ride? You know, how much time do people have? So generally, we kind of shoot for about 5 days.
Yep.
Yeah, 4 to 5 days, and then you know we say, all right, are we going to certain destinations? Are we going certain directions? Sightseeing? Are we trying to get the most miles we can? You know, what's it all going to be
there a
about?
theme?
Is there a theme? Yeah.
And sometimes the theme can be seasonality, location, birthdays, something to that effect. right?
Movies.
Yeah.
You name it. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, really, and doing that aligns expectations, kind of lets people decide if that's what they want to be in on, kind of thing. But then a lot of times at the last minute, you also have to take into account weather. And I mean, in the last few rides that we've done, at least a couple of them, we said, you know, we really need to switch gears here. The weather doesn't look good in the way that we planned it the first time, and we kind of sometimes we'll end up just reversing. You know, it's usually a circle style ride that we're on, so
Yep.
we'll reverse it, right?
Yeah, we did this last time. We were going up to the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and we were going to ride around Lake Michigan in a counterclockwise
Right.
direction. And as we were looking at weather, that was really going to run us into about 3 or 4 days worth
Every
of,
day almost, yeah.
worth of rain riding. And we actually used ChatGPT. We said where we want to go, how many days, and we said what route would keep us out of the bad weather and rain. And sure enough, it rerouted us clockwise. And it was a lot of the same stops.
Yeah, I mean, I think we ended up just realizing that this clockwise version. I mean, we did use ChatGPT, and I think it was going to take us somewhere else. Well, remember when we put it in there, it was like go here and then go here and then go here, and it was like all within 50 miles of each other.
No.
Oh.
Later on, when
okay.
I ran it, remember I said, "Hey, look, it's got a lot of the same routes we
Okay.
did," and that's when and then we took it from there, you know, on
Right.
our own. But it really did loop us just around the lake the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, if we kind of start planning dates early, and then as it get closer, you start to plan the route, maybe the theme, if there's certain places people want to stay, see, do. And then what we've done, or what you can do, is then send out a Google Doc itinerary. But we usually do a map. We get that map created so that people can have some time to look it over, because it's easy to create a map, and then it's easy also to put some kind of funky spots in it. So like we kind of, it's one of those things where it's like let people take a peek at it so that everyone kind of look for extra things that they want to do. So.
Yeah, they'll say, hey, we're going to be in this area. Let's go over here and see this museum, or
Right,
let's go
I
take
found
this.
this.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
found this. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. So what's the second big area that we want to talk about?
Well, really, you got to think about the people,
Mm-hmm.
because every group is going to have a mix of people. You're going to have someone who likes to ride fast. They like to lead, but then they also forget to look in the mirrors to see if everyone's keeping up. So then you might have someone who's what I would call like the scenic cruiser,
Mm-hmm.
that's just willing to ride, at the speed limit. Take their time. Just watch left and right.
Yeah.
See what we're seeing. So. You gotta kind of work with that kind of mix. And then you've got the late sleeper, the person who sleeps in late and comes out of the hotel 15 minutes after everyone else's
Oh,
kickstands up. So, and then there's you got your hyper planner, the person who has their laminated maps ready to go and all their snacks all backed up and ready. And then sometimes you just have somebody new. They might be the wild card.
Yeah.
And you don't really know what they're going to do. So I think flexibility is going to be key in most of these things. And, just understand, don't get frustrated. Understand that everyone's going to be a little different. And you just got to kind of communicate a lot.
yeah. And I also think in the same way as there's different people's riding styles, everyone's bike is different too. So
Yeah.
like some people have a very comfortable bike and can ride for a long distance.
Right.
Some don't have quite as comfortable bike.
Yeah.
And maybe don't feel comfortable riding as far or as fast. So that's another piece I think that kind of is very similar to that.
Yeah. I know that, or someone is riding two up.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's more taxing.
Yeah, and if you're going to go into twisties, they might not keep up. So
Right.
just, slow the group down if you're going to be in the twisties with a two-up rider,
Right, exactly. So what about like as we set up ride structure, Todd? What are you thinking about that, or what tips?
Well, for me, I think the most important thing is having a leader that not only sets their cruise control and leaves the cruise control set, because that makes it easier for everyone in back, but they don't make sudden lane changes, and they're not constantly weaving in and out and getting around traffic. A good leader really will kind of watch until, maybe we are coming up on a slow truck, and then they'll kind of look, do we have enough room for everyone to move
Yeah.
over at the same time? And then when they do, they signal, everybody moves over, we go past the slow vehicle, everybody moves back, and they wait to move back in until
Right.
everyone's kind of clear. I really appreciate that in what I would call like the lead rider. It's tough if you have someone who's leading and that doesn't have cruise control, because I like to use cruise control, and
Yeah.
if I'm behind them, I run up on them, and then I
in,
fade
you're out,
back.
you're
I'm
in,
in
you're
and
out.
out. So we don't have adaptive cruise control yet on our motorcycle. So yeah, I like the cruise on the leader for
And
sure.
if you have a headset too, it's nice. Hey, I set my cruise at this,
Yeah.
and then everyone kind of knows. Because, I mean, cruise controls aren't perfect. They don't stay on the exact same number.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a car is a little bit more standard. It stays put.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
bikes tend to wander just a little
They
bit.
they
so.
do. And then I would say if you have someone who is not real comfortable with group riding, you might want to just keep them at the back, or just allow them to, straggle behind a little bit. You don't want them to get too far behind so they can't see you anymore. But, if you've got your communicators on, that helps. But
Yeah.
I would say, some groups will say, well, you need to have a sweep rider in the back. You need to
Yeah.
have someone with the tools in the back. You
Yeah.
need to have someone that watches traffic in the back. But we're not in a huge group. We're in a group of
Yeah, we
5
stay.
or 6.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's not real important for us. I would say for us, it's maybe someone who just isn't super comfortable being tightly grouped up, and
Right.
let them ride at the back.
And if they don't have cruise control, that's good for them to ride behind people
Yeah.
because then you can kind of just visually, stay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like, as far as planning for a day, like, you got to be careful when you look at the miles. I mean, everyone's kind of agreeing on the number of miles that you're going to ride, but it's also important to not, like, if it shows how much time of riding time, kind of like when you're in a Google Maps driving time, that doesn't count stops.
Oh no, that's No,
So,
and like you said, that's driving time in a
right.
car. In a car, I think you just go farther. You ride for a
It's more
longer.
comfortable.
It's more comfortable. You
Yeah.
ride for a longer time. Motorcycle, hour and a half, 2 hours, and that's about it. And
Sure.
when you do stop for fuel, it's going to take a little longer. So
Right.
because people are going to stretch, they're going to grab something to eat, they're going to grab something to drink, go to the bathroom, they're going to fill.
What about communication?
Well, that's everything for us. I mean, we
This is
use.
before and during the ride.
Oh, I guess,
Yeah,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I would say communicating beforehand. When we get together, we kind of set all the expectations
Right.
in our group meeting. We'll kind of say we're going to ride 150 miles or
Mm-hmm.
175 miles, and then we're going to get fuel. I know one guy in our group that he feels like he needs to stop at 150
Yep.
miles, so that's what we do. Even though I think his bike will go 200 miles, but I think communicating beforehand, just so there isn't hard feelings along the way.
Yeah.
Just so they don't think, hey, you guys are stretching me out here. My bike isn't going to go past 150
Right.
miles, or you're riding too fast for me. Yeah, I think communicating is super important.
And I know, like, when Brad and I would ride before we were all riding together, like, if you only have two people with communicators, then I like to put them at the front and the back.
Yeah, yeah,
So that someone can see what's going on in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's good.
yeah,
And then depending on, not everyone has GPS or phone view on their bike, so
Mm-hmm.
so kind of letting people kind of see the destinations that are coming up. Like, I know a lot of people that just have GPS will poke in the next stop,
yeah,
just because it's not always perfect, but at least it kind of gives them something to kind of to visualize.
yeah. And I think that's important too, that even in our Google Maps, we have waypoints along
Yeah.
the way, right? And that helps us with turns and all that kind of stuff. But if you happen to get separated, as long as people have the Google Map,
Right.
or if they've printed,
Yep.
our Google Map or something,
Yep.
that would help too. But we generally don't get so spread out we have to go looking for anybody. That doesn't
No.
happen with our group. But if you're in a very large group, that could be an issue, I
Yep.
guess.
And with the communicators that helps, but when we get, kind of the rule of thumb is always like, if you're going to make a major turn, then you kind of make sure that you have everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't see them, you kind of wait, pull over. If they happen to have gotten back far, you just wait for them.
Yeah, wait for them at the corner where you're turning. Yeah.
Yep. That tends to work. And then the stops, like you were talking about a little bit. I mean, these are important. I mean, you need time to rest.
Yeah. Yeah. Stretch out the legs. Some people, I know that, I know someone that actually, if they ride their motorcycle too long, they get some pretty serious blood clots in their
Oh,
legs.
geez, that's not good.
So it's really important to, get your legs stretched out, walk around a little bit. And
Water.
I get some water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super important. I was just thinking about something else that you mentioned, when if you get kind of spread out, other times you get spread out is like if someone is leading and a car somehow gets between you,
Yep.
and then they slow down or there gets to be some traffic, then it really kind of can spread your group out if you're in some either rural roads or highways. But
Yeah.
what do you do when that happens?
What I usually do is I'll just slow down, and then they'll pass you too.
Let the car
just
pass
get them
you, yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Because half the time they don't even pay attention, and then the other half the time, I don't know if they're trying to race you or what. But,
Right.
then I just let them get ahead, and then usually they'll
Yeah.
take off and go. But
Yep.
you never know, and then sometimes they get in the middle, and I don't know if they think they're a motorcycle or what. But no,
Yeah.
but usually it doesn't take very long, and they're moving on. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of diverted
No.
there. But I think also one of the things that we generally do is we do stop for some longer stops, especially when it's, there's scenic
Yeah.
places along the way, or if it's a nice rest area or something, we will pull over, we'll have some snacks,
Yeah.
and talk a little bit and have some water to drink, something to stay hydrated. And that's one of those where you think it'll take you 5 minutes and it takes you a half hour.
Oh,
right?
I mean, every stop is 20, 30 minutes every time, no
Yeah.
matter what. I mean, you might as well calculate it because
Yeah.
it's just, it always works that way.
Yeah, at fuel stops, I know, you're taking off your helmet. You're putting the bike on the stand. You're getting out your wallet. You're getting the card.
Right.
You're using the card reader. You're
drop the
unscrewing
card.
You drop
Oh.
the card. It's like, yeah, you got to put your helmet somewhere. I mean, it
Yeah.
all takes time. And even though the tanks are small, they don't take long to fill, the whole process does. And sometimes you pull up to a gas station that only has 2 or 3 pumps.
Right.
And there's 6 of you that need to fill.
Right.
So, it all does take time.
And I would say if you haven't done a group ride and you're going on one tip that I would say is like get all your gear on and just go for a ride and then go fill up your bike and get off. Just get used to it. Where do you put your helmet on your bike when you're trying to fill it up?
Yeah, that's a good
You
point.
know, like where you put your gloves. Like it's just good to kind of find a spot, put them in the same spot every time because you just don't want to lose your gloves or forget something.
Yeah.
Get your helmet on and realize that you didn't put your earplugs in.
Happens
so-
all the time.
And so, like, if you kind of put a methodical, if you kind of come up with a pattern or a process,
Process. Yeah, that's great.
it works good.
It really does.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think we've gotten much better at ever since we started riding as a group
Yeah.
is just planning out some interesting stops, some things we want to do. Whether it's a scenic overlook or some quirky attraction, a vintage diner,
Yeah.
or pasties,
Right,
pasty
right.
trails. We've recently taken some tours
Yep.
on our trips that have been kind of the highlight for some of us.
Yeah, for sure.
And not our stops aren't just gas stops anymore.
Right.
We're taking some really good stops that are meaningful and everybody really enjoys.
So, what about at the end of the day?
Well, this is where it's time to keep the good vibes going. We generally like to, go and have a meal together.
Yep.
Sometimes talk about the day. Things that we saw, things
We'll
that
look for a hotel with a pool or a hot tub,
Yeah.
usually, just because that kind of does relax a guy.
absolutely. That's important. And then what we did this last time is we actually made logbooks.
Yeah.
For the first time, we've been talking about doing that, and so some of us, wrote in the logbooks.
Well, we just talked about it, and someone took notes. That worked
Yep.
out pretty good.
Yeah. And then you have to respect someone who just needs some downtime, or they need to go to talk on the phone to a relative.
Yeah, everyone
or a
usually
loved
calls
one.
home.
Yep. So I would say don't ever guilt someone that wants to kind of get out of the group for a little while and
Right.
go do their own thing. That's fine. That works. Sometimes they have to make a work phone call.
Yeah.
Get caught up on work. No hard feelings.
Yeah, no, I mean it's good, and it just everyone does their thing a little bit, Even I think just not like get off the bike, get in the hotel, then go run away right away. Just
Yeah.
give it some time. And you do have to plan that out a little bit though, because sometimes if you're not careful, you're getting in kind of late, and so sometimes maybe if you think you're going to get in a little later, maybe stop for dinner before you get to the hotel too,
Yeah.
because like when you sometimes like I know a couple times it's been like 9 o'clock and like the kitchen's almost closed. And,
Right.
I mean, those are the times you don't necessarily want to make, then they don't want to be sticking around making food at 9
Yeah.
or 10 if it's not open until 11 or 12.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Make
yeah.
sure that you eat if it's going to be late before you get to your hotel. That's
Yeah, I
good,
mean, it
good
just,
point.
and sometimes you're just trying to get to that hotel, but, you got to kind of plan that out better.
Yeah.
Because we try really hard not to just like order a pizza to the room.
Right.
I mean, the goal is to kind of get out and see the sights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really think that keeping things light for us, we laugh a lot.
Right.
The weird things happen. We have a plan, but it's just a guide for us. I mean,
Right.
it's not the gospel.
Right.
And in fact, I think on this last trip we changed it every night or every morning, and then you created a new map, and it was in the
Oh, yeah.
in the calendar.
At
Just about every
times.
day that happened.
Yeah.
I think it was just everybody was being real flexible.
Yeah. And we only had 4, so the less.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
is more
4
flexible.
people. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's not perfection. It's the story. It's all the things that you remember about it. And, like you said, that's the good part.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a section we call the toolkit. We share motorcycle gear review, and other riding tips. In the toolkit, kind of just to continue, I just thought I'd list out some things like what we use for planning. We're still using Google Maps for everything. I mean, We need to try a few of these other apps that are out there. There's Rever, Calmodo, but as of right now, they're not both Apple and Android compatible. And we
Yeah,
have
right.
both. So right now it's still hard, and now we're starting to get some bikes that have CarPlay and Android Auto on it, and then that's a whole nother factor of some of these apps don't have that option.
Yeah.
So, that's why it just kind of tends to continue to default to Google Maps, which isn't perfect, but it has it. So we usually use SMS, but you could use WhatsApp to kind of group chat. You can store some photos and share photos in there, and that is nice just to save and share pictures.
Yeah.
And then another one, you kind of alluded to it, but we create a calendar for each day. And I think a couple times ago, like we put the hotel confirmation in there. Maybe just go ahead and put the address of the hotel just in case the Google Maps goes quirky, because sometimes they do. And then the link to the Google Map for the day, because then you can continue to update that map if you need to change it. So we've found that to work really, really well.
Yeah, that's better than trying to send it in an email, because then it's like, which email did you
Yeah,
send?
yeah.
Try and find the last
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
It's so much easier. Just go to today's
Yep. Date.
date, and it's
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah,
I
it
love
works
that.
well.
Yeah.
So just gear that we've talked about, Bluetooth intercoms, we're using Senas. That's just kind of what we've used. But there is a lot of people that use Cardos as well. But it really is one of the better parts of the ride. When everyone started using those, it just got a lot better.
Yeah.
Most people are using the handlebar phone mount now. There are a ton of options, but like Quad Lock or the Gold Strike Constrictor are kind of the two best. And I'm a big fan of making sure they have charging. It's a little harder to get installed the first time, but man, is it nice when you can just set it down and it's charging.
Charging, yeah.
Especially wet, that kind of thing. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
And then just tossing in the phone charger battery banks. Good for the phones sometimes, but really for headsets it stops. We're finding the headsets, when you're riding all day, and if they're not brand new that year, then they tend to, cut out right before you hit the hotel. Not a big deal for most bikes, but now, like with the Goldwing, if my headset goes off, my Android Auto goes off. My Android Auto goes off, I got no maps.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like kind of, you kind of got to have it. So
Yeah. So you generally keep just a power pack in your trunk, don't you? Or
I've
you've
got my trunk wired
That's
for
true, you do,
power.
yeah.
But yes, I mean, that would be one of those two things, I think you need. So.
Yeah.
And then kind of just in case items, first aid kit. Let's hope we don't need it, but it's nice to have.
Yep.
Tire plug, mini air compressor, or the CO2 compressing filler. Again, we don't want to use it if we don't have to, but if you have to, it's a lot better. And then I've got a basic tool roll. You can buy just a plain old tool roll on Amazon and stuff. Zip ties, duct tape, Allen wrenches, various sockets, just kind of the basic stuffs. You're not going to have everything in there to rebuild the motorcycle, but I don't think I could either way. So.
Right.
And then just I called the last bullet like food, fuel, and fun. A lot of times we'll bring snacks. We throw them in one of the bags. Dried fruit, licorice, granola bars have been decent.
Yep.
A little water. You guys have water on your bike.
Yep.
I tend to bring one.
And usually someone has a pack of beef sticks.
Yeah, something like
beef
that.
jerky.
And then a shared playlist is something that we've kind of done the last few times. It's cool. I mean, you've put together one, but just themed music, whether it's themed for the ride or just artists from the area or something. It's just nice, and then we're kind of all listening to it. Not at the same time usually, but or not the exact same one, but and then some sort of, we haven't figured this one out yet, really, if anybody has suggestions, but shared photo albums to kind of to keep the memories going. But I mean, we've tried a few things. I wouldn't say anything works perfect yet.
Nothing's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Google Drive we've used.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know. We need to keep working on that one.
Yeah.
If you like the podcast today, please like and subscribe. Sign up for our BMR Rider Alerts. It's our way of keeping you in the loop, and we promise no spam.
Keep the spirit of adventure alive, and remember, bikes, friends, and endless roads, the stories ride forever. Take care.